everybody. It's Monday, October 30th. The afternoon, we are showcasing the best of the Brad and Squee Show. While you're on your lunch break, enjoy our citizenship and matrimonial attorneys on the street. Too Much Information social media immigration segment. An interview with a Guatemalan national who is hiding in a church basement with immigration customs enforcement agents just outside the door. And a discussion of the 100-mile border zone law. Find out how it affects you and what rights you have.
This is Kim Moore from the Brad and Squee Show, and today we are asking New Yorkers questions from the U.S. citizenship test. Let's see if they can pass it. What is the supreme law of the land?
What is the supreme law of the land? Like there's just the one big thing that's like the supreme law? Like the supreme being?
Jeez, what is the supreme law of the land? Freedom of speech, I guess.
The supreme law of the land, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Equal rights. You got me. I'm feeling really stupid.
The supreme law of the land is the Constitution. In other words, all the laws derive from the Constitution.
How many amendments does the Constitution have?
50?
I don't know that one. No, I have no idea. I'm sorry.
21, 20, I don't know, 15? I have no idea. How many is there?
There are only 27 amendments to the Constitution. It's usually a pretty big deal, and we pretty much remember all of them.
What are the first 10 amendments of the Constitution called?
Declaration of Independence?
I'm sorry, I don't know.
The first 10 amendments of the Constitution, I have no clue.
The first 10 amendments of the Constitution are called the Bill of Rights: freedom of speech, freedom of the press, freedom of religion, the right to bear arms.
The idea of self-government is summarized in 3 words in the Constitution. What are those 3 words in the Constitution?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
If you don't know, the 3 words are "we the people."
How many justices are there on the Supreme Court?
3 justice? I don't know.
10?
I'm not too sure how many justices are in the Supreme Court.
You want to take a guess?
25.
There are 9 justices on the Supreme Court.
Not 16, not 2, not 3, 9 Supreme Court justices.
What does the judicial branch do?
I'm sorry, what is that?
The judicial branch?
Do they levy the taxes?
The judicial branch makes judgments or legal decisions on, I guess, I don't know if it's local or state.
The judicial branch reviews laws.
Interpret the laws, make the laws, and resolve the issues.
When there's a case that's in front of a judge, the judge will identify the particular laws that control that case.
So when a case comes before a court, it is the court's job to resolve the issue, make a decision.
What is the economic system of the United States?
Can you further explain that question?
Yeah, like how...
I don't know.
I'm gonna lean toward communism.
Certainly not communists.
Communism is actually not even an economic system. That's kind of a political system, a governing system.
The economic system in the United States is the market economy. That means that we are capitalists.
What is one power of the federal government?
Good question.
The federal government makes decisions on taxes. No?
I don't know. I'm afraid I don't know. I don't know either.
One federal power is to print money. Only the federal government can do that, so that as a country we have one monetary system. The interviewer will have a list of 10 questions. Only 6 of 10 need to be answered correctly. So you get the first 6 right, and that's it. That's all the officer wants to know.
Prior successful results do not guarantee similar outcome.
So we're here today about too much information that you're giving on social media, too much information that you're posting about yourself, too much information that you're posting about your loved ones that could come back and haunt you if you want to enter the United States, if you want to work in the United States, if you want to get a green card in the United States, and ultimately become a citizen of the United States. The U.S. government is going to be looking at your social media. It's going to be looking at the social media of your friends and family. So remember, too much information is going to hurt you. Too little information can never hurt you. You know, I have here on this card, they give me these fancy cards here, so I'm told by the producers I got to read it, that the Department of Homeland Security recently amended the Federal Register. The Federal Register, by the way, is the book where they post changes in regulations. And on October 18th, which is 2 days from today, it's going to be collecting the social media information of not only anyone who is trying to get a visa or U.S. residency, but even those who are already naturalized U.S. citizens. Aliases, photos, and likes, things that you like, things that you comment on, are going to be collected and stored in your permanent immigration file. And when it's time for you to enter the United States, or when it's time for you to apply for a green card, or when it's time for you to apply for a visa, this information is going to come back and possibly haunt you. Now, the Department of Homeland Security says this is nothing new. They've been doing this for 5, 6, 7 years. But now, ladies and gentlemen, this is enshrined into law, into regulations by none other than that orange guy in the White House, Donald Trump. So here's a couple of don'ts that you shouldn't be doing. Things that you should not be doing. Number one thing, don't post that you're coming to look for work here in the United States if you're coming on a visitor's visa or on a student visa, or you're applying for a visa, that you're looking for work, or you go on LinkedIn and say, I'm looking for a job in America, or make a comment on your friend's post, hey, I'm coming to America, you know anyone looking for a job, or anyone who's looking to hire me in a job? Don't post any of that stuff. Well, first of all, you shouldn't be doing it anyway, but second of all, that's going to come back and haunt you. Do not post about a new job. The same thing. Don't start posting, hey, Sam, guess what? I just got a job in this restaurant. I'm coming to America next week. Come check me out in my new restaurant. Don't post that unless you're coming with a green card, because it is unlikely that you have any work visa to work in a restaurant, and guess what? You're going to be flagged, because the Department of Homeland Security is looking at your likes. They're looking at your comments. They're looking at what you're saying on social media. Do not post questions on how to set up a U.S. company. You can't come to the United States on a visitor's visa with a U.S. company already set up. You can't do it. You can't come on a student visa. There's something called E-visas and L-visas that need to happen for you to enter the United States before you set up a company and start coming to America as an investor. One of the dumbest things you can do on social media is start asking friends and family for immigration lawyers. Because if you're going to make an entry into the United States, this is just for people who are traveling now. Okay, people who are traveling. If you're going to come to the United States on a visitor's visa, and somewhere in your permanent immigration file is a request that I need to find a lawyer so I can get a green card, and you're coming on a visitor's visa, guess what? That's fraud. It shows your intention to be getting a green card when you're entering the United States, when you're coming as a visitor or even as a student. So don't do it. Do not ask questions about how do I get a green card within your first 90 days of entering America. You cannot have the intention of getting married within your first 90 days of entering America. If you start questioning on social media, hey, Sam, how do I get married? I just got here last week. Those things are going to be flagged and picked up by the Department of Homeland Security, and it's going to come back and haunt you when you apply for your green card. And most importantly, do not friend strangers. And this has to do with, you always tell your kids don't befriend strangers because you don't know who they are. Well, guess what? You don't know who they are as adults either. And if you befriend a stranger who is a security risk to the United States, whether they have some involvement in terrorism or some involvement in the drug trade or trafficking of humans or whatever other bad things that they may or may not be doing, and you are a friend, guess what? You're now associated with this person, and you are now on a government watch list also. So be very careful who you're befriending and who you're discussing with and who you're talking to on social media. Do not, here's a good one from our producer, which is a good one because I gave him my whole list here. Do not post photographs. If you're doing a marriage, don't post photographs with you in the lap of somebody else other than your spouse. Now, it could be absolutely innocent. They could be good friends of yours. It could be that your best friend is somebody with the opposite sex. It doesn't mean that you're not in a real bona fide marriage with your spouse, because that photograph is just a second in time, a snapshot of something that is obviously much bigger and greater. But the Department of Homeland Security is going to say, aha, this woman or this man is in the lap of somebody else or has his or her arm around somebody else. And guess what? They're going to start questioning the validity of your marriage. So the moral of all of this is everything that you post on social media is being used by the Department of Homeland Security to catch you in a fraud, to catch you in a misrepresentation, to catch you being associated with somebody that you may or may not or shouldn't be associated with, even if you don't even know who they are, because a lot of times people just befriend strangers on the internet. So please be very careful. And remember, the internet is forever. Once you say something or do something on the internet, even if you delete it, it's there forever. Be very careful. And don't think, by the way, that if you have privacy things on your internet, on Facebook, well, only my friends can see this, or only I can see this. It's not a public picture. Guess what? The U.S. government can see it anyway. So be very careful and stop giving out too much information. Now we're going to go back and find out where the hell Squeeze was today when I'm doing this. You know, here at the Brad and Squeeze show, we are very concerned about immigration. We want to be able to show people what it's like to be an immigrant who is arriving to America, what it's like to be an immigrant who's becoming a citizen, how to help people with their immigration problems, but also highlight the plight of immigrants who are living here under orders of deportation, who have been here for very long periods of time. Right now, under Donald Trump's administration, immigrants who have lived in the United States for years, immigrants who are in good moral standing, have been flagged by ICE for deportation, immigrants who have been living here with outstanding warrants for their arrest. To avoid being sent back to countries that immigrants no longer have ties to, and in some cases that they're actually in danger for their own life if they return, immigrants are seeking shelter in houses of worship to avoid being deported. One such person we have today is Lucio Perez, a Guatemalan native and a married father of 4 who has been living in the United States of America for the last 20 years. He was supposed to leave the country on the morning of October 19th after his request for an emergency stay of deportation was denied, but instead of leaving, he has sought sanctuary in the First Congregational Church in Amherst, Massachusetts, and he's hoping to stay in the United States to keep his family together until his emergency motion for a stay of removal is heard by the Board of Immigration Appeals. I am being joined today by one of our fantastic attorneys, Shannon Laguerre. She's a fantastic attorney in terms of removal, deportation, motions to reopen. We are also being joined today by Rose Bookbinder, who is the lead organizer at the Pioneer Valley Workers Center and an organizer of Massachusetts Jobs for Justice. She is close friends with Lucio and his family and fighting to keep him in this country. Lucio and Rose are with us on Skype today from the basement of the church where he is seeking shelter. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having us.
So Shannon, you want to find out a little bit about them?
How are you, Lucio? How are you doing today?
Bien, gracias.
When did you come to the United States and why?
En el año 1999.
I came in 1999.
Pues uno viene huyendo de las pandillas porque es muy peligroso en el país de nosotros.
It's very dangerous in my home country. One comes fleeing the gang violence.
Okay. And how did you get picked up by Immigration and Customs Enforcement?
¿Cómo es que te agarraron en inmigración?
Porque un día fui a trabajar,
I went to work one day.
un día sábado.
It was a Saturday.
Yo llevé a mi familia conmigo.
I took my family with me.
Un día que estaba terminando del trabajo,
And I was finishing my work.
estaba haciendo mucho calor
It was really a hot day.
y yo pasé a comprar unas bebidas Dunkin' Donuts.
And I stopped to buy some drinks at Dunkin' Donuts.
Entonces, pues estaba bien lleno de carros ese día en el parqueadero, no encontré ningún parking ahí.
The parking lot was really full, so I didn't find a parking space.
Me abrí un rato pues ahí atrás de un carro
So I stopped behind a car.
y entonces yo le pregunté a mi esposa que si querían ir conmigo. Yo les dije vamos conmigo.
And I said, come on with me. We're going to the inn.
Y entonces dice, ve tú, llévate uno de los niños.
And she said, go yourself and take one of the kids.
Y entonces nadie quiso ir conmigo, me fui yo solo para
But
adentro.
nobody wanted to come, so I went in by myself.
Y entonces cuando yo estaba haciendo, pues ya estaba en línea para comprar las bebidas.
When I was in the line to buy the drinks,
Mi esposa pasó por un momento al baño.
and my my wife stopped to go use the restroom.
Y entonces se quedaron 3 niños en el carro.
So the 3 kids were waiting in the car.
And Lucio, it was the local police that arrested you, or was it ICE that they came into your car? I understand.
So was it the local police that came to the car? Oh, fue la policía local que vino a
Sí,
ese
fue la policía que ya estaba allá afuera. Cuando yo salí ya estaban 2 policías detrás del carro.
And this, and this was in Massachusetts? In Connecticut.
In Connecticut. In West Hartford, Connecticut.
West Hartford, Connecticut.
Did you ever get to see an immigration judge?
¿Viste un juez de inmigración cualquier vez?
Una vez.
One time.
And what happened in court?
¿Y qué pasó en la corte?
Pues el juez me preguntó que cuántos años yo llevaba aquí en Estados Unidos y yo le dije, yo vine aquí del 99.
The judge asked me how long I had been in the U.S. and I said I came in 1999.
Entonces me preguntó, ¿qué pruebas tú puedes probar que tú llevas 10 años aquí?
And he said, what kind of proof do you have that you've been here for many years?
Entonces la abogada que yo tenía pues es una abogada pública que no me preparó para para estar enfrente de un juez.
The lawyer that I had at the time was a public lawyer who didn't prepare me very well to be in front of the judge for the cancellation.
Ella fue lo que me dijo, con la acta de tus hijos es suficiente, no necesitas más pruebas.
She told me that with just my children's birth certificates, that would be enough to prove my case, and I didn't need any other proof.
Cuando yo estuve enfrente del juez me dijo, es insuficiente porque esto no llega, que tú tienes, que tú puedes probar que ya llevas 10 años aquí.
And when I was in front of the judge said, this is not enough, this doesn't prove that you've been here 10 years.
Pues lo rompió el papel y lo botó a la basura.
He actually ripped the paper in front of me and threw it in the trash.
What year did this happen?
Fue como el 2010.
It was 2010.
Okay. Yeah. And then after that he ordered you deported and that was it.
Después te ordenó deportado.
Sí, me dijo que yo no sé si 30 días, no recuerdo bien, o 90 días o 30 días que yo me fuera del país.
And he gave me 30 days to leave the country.
Entonces la abogada volvió a hacer otra apelación.
So the lawyer did an appeal.
You did an appeal?
Y pues
she appealed it.
Lo dieron la apelación.
And they gave the appeal.
Who did the appeal? The same lawyer?
Sí.
The same lawyer. The same. You had the same lawyer who was unprepared in court do your appeal.
Sí,
why did you do that?
Pues yo pensé que estaba haciendo bien su trabajo.
I didn't know. I thought she was doing her work well.
Okay.
Entonces pues ya no sometió ni un papeleo para para prepararme nuevamente. Ya no me dio instrucciones, yo solo estaba esperando si me tenía que presentar nuevamente al juez.
Again, there was no information prepared, and I was just waiting to, thinking that I would go in front of the judge again.
Y un día que yo fui a trabajar en New Hampshire.
But one day I went to work in Northampton.
Un día viernes.
It was a Friday.
Yo creo que ya iba a ser el año.
And it was about a year later.
Cuando me llamaron de la oficina del grillete.
When they called me from the office of the ankle bracelet.
Yes. Okay. So you got an ankle bracelet put on. Apparently your appeal was denied. Nobody ever told you that. Is that correct? So the first time you heard that your appeal was denied is when you got called to be put on an ankle bracelet for deportation. Is that correct?
Entonces te llamaron para ponerte en un brazalete en ese día.
Sí. And what year did this happen?
¿Cuál año fue?
Fue cuando me negaron el caso. 2011 creo.
It was about 2011.
Me dijo la señora, tu apelación ha sido rechazada nuevamente.
And the woman told me on the phone, your appeal was denied.
And how old are your children? They were all born here. How old are your children?
¿Cuántos años tienen tus hijos?
Uno cumplió 15 años el 8 de septiembre.
One turned 15.
Y uno va a cumplir 14 el 22 de mayo.
One is turning 14.
Y una niña que va a cumplir 9 años el 19 de abril.
And the other will turn 9.
Have you been made aware at any time that your attorney possibly, who represented you, possibly provided ineffective assistance of counsel to you?
¿Te han dicho que tu abogado a lo mejor no te apoyó bastante bien?
Sí, me han dicho.
Yes, they've told me that.
And when who's they, and when did you find out about this?
¿Cuándo aprendió de eso?
Apenas como un mes cuando yo fui de parte de la otra iglesia. Sí.
In Springfield.
Ajá, en Springfield, sí.
Just last month.
Just last month. Okay. And Shannon, I mean, obviously they have to make a motion to reopen for ineffective assistance of counsel.
Well, normally what they do is they do a Lozada motion,
right,
which is basically stating that, hey, you have to file a complaint against the attorney that represented him. And then afterwards file the motion to reopen. I'm sorry.
Is that done already?
The motion to reopen has already been filed.
Has it been done? Has it been done under Lozada? Under Lozada, the rules that have to be followed under Lozada for ineffective assistance of counsel, or was it done just as a joint motion? Feel sorry for this guy and please reopen his case.
So, as a joint motion with some details about the ineffective assistance, but no.
All right, so just from the little that we know, we're just discovering this now, and we can obviously talk about this at greater length. You are entitled to a fair hearing. A fair hearing entitles you to competent counsel. If you have been in the United States for more than 10 years when you're picked up by immigration, and your counsel says to you, show up with a birth certificate to prove you've been here for 10 years, that doesn't prove anything. It just proves you have a child. It doesn't prove that you've been continuously in the United States for 10 years. That's ineffective assistance of counsel because he was never able to be provided an opportunity to apply for cancellation or removal to show hardship to his family. So that's ineffective assistance of counsel, and you have a right within 180 days of discovering your ineffective assistance of counsel to file a complaint under Lozada against that attorney if in fact she provided ineffective assistance of counsel, and make a motion to reopen as a matter of right, a constitutional right to reopen your case, not a please, I'm begging you to reopen my case because I have a sad story, which obviously you do.
The joint motion to reopen is going to be more on discretion.
Correct.
And certainly now under this administration, they're not exercising that type of discretion, and that's why it's important that you actually do the Lozada motion.
That's what I would do, because then you have a constitutional right to reopen your case versus, and maybe somebody could explain this to him in Spanish, and let's hear his reaction to all of this.
I've been translating.
Oh, you have been? Okay.
And it's also important that we mention that for cancellation of removal, the 10-year, a lot of people don't realize it's not simply showing that you've been in the country for 10 years. You also have to demonstrate exceptional and extremely unusual hardship to your U.S. citizen or green card holder, children, spouse, or parent. And that's very important. So just stating that you have children is not enough.
Right, or bringing in a birth certificate, and that's why the judge ripped everything in front of him. He said, "What kind of application is this?" That's why he ripped it up. Now, also, you know, the judge has the obligation to tell you that if you are being represented by counsel ineffectively, he has the obligation to tell you, which he also did not do. What he did was he just literally ripped up the papers in front of you and ordered you deported.
Right, and that's certainly something that could be brought up too, because the Board of Immigration Appeals will look at that and see as misconduct of the judge.
So I think, you know, Lucio, I think you have a strong, it sounds like to me, a strong case for a motion to reopen based on Lozada. You have one right to reopen your case. You don't have multiple applications. I would be looking to supplement that with a Lozada motion as well.
And has he also filed a stay of removal?
Have you filed a stay of removal?
Yes, there was a stay of removal filed with ICE and the Board of Immigration Appeals. Both have been denied.
Both have been denied. And they probably have been denied because under the Trump administration, they're denying all of this.
Right.
You know, motions to reopen based on discretion. We feel bad for you. You know, that orange guy in the White House doesn't feel bad for anybody unless he's an old white man. So, you know, whether Lucio has 4 kids or not, you know, they're going to be denying this stuff. Now, luckily for Lucio, there's a Constitution in the United States. Okay? We still have to follow the Constitution. You have a right to a fair hearing. Part of having a fair hearing is having competent counsel. And it sounds like he didn't have it. And that's, to me, is the stronger of the 2 cases. We can talk more about this off the air. We're happy to help you. I also want to be able to get into what's happening now. Lucio is now being holed up in a church. Has ICE come to knock on the door of the church?
ICE vino a tocar a la puerta de la iglesia. ICE migra para tocar la puerta. 2 noches atrás yo vi algo raro, como que sentía que alguien vino de la puerta y estaba hablando como de GPS. Entonces a lo mejor vino alguien ahí. We didn't know about this. 2 nights ago, he said he thought something strange was happening outside the door, that there was someone who sounded like they were talking on a GPS, like estaba hablando de direcciones. So.
It's very possible. They don't, just so you understand the law, they do not, because there's a warrant out for your arrest for immigration, that does not entitle them to walk into a church. They have to be invited. They have to be invited into the church. So somebody has to open the door who is inside of the church and say, "Come on in, Mr. ICE officer." Other than that, they are not allowed in. They can ask you to step out, but if you don't step out, they can't touch you.
And Brad, it's also important that we also say it's not just for churches, it's for homes too.
Right, you can be holed up in your house. You don't have to be in the basement of a church, although it's obviously much harder for them to bust down a church door than it is a home door.
And you have to look at the warrant. Whoever's looking at the warrant, it has to be a judicial warrant. It has to be signed by a judge.
By a federal judge.
By a federal judge. So it can't just be basically signed by Immigration and Customs Enforcement. And sometimes they do have those type of warrants, and you're not allowed to let them in. You have to have a judicial warrant. So very important.
But as a matter of course, I've yet to see them get a federal judge to go bang down a church door to go arrest somebody who's not a criminal. I've yet to see.
They have been harassing him by phone, in the middle of the night.
They will do that. They will do. They are going to scare him.
They'll stay outside.
They are going to stay outside and put pressure on him.
They'll call family members.
And the more publicity he gets, the more pressure he's going to get. But they are not allowed in the church unless somebody opens the door and invites them in, or unless there is a federal warrant by a federal judge. Period. Okay. Now, one thing that everyone has to know who is inside of the church, I'm not looking to scare anybody, but there is a law that says if you harbor an immigrant with a warrant for your arrest, that in of itself is a crime. So everybody who is associated with him and helping to harbor him in the church, including the pastor, perhaps even the parishioners of the church, could be charged with a crime. Although again, I would find it would be really terrible publicity. I think everybody would be in an uproar if that were to happen. I think what has to happen is for Lucio, because there has to be an end game. Okay, he can't sit in the church forever. Okay, and the end game has to be that there has to be a Lozada motion. That's going to be his best bet to get his case reopened, and then be able to show extreme and unusual hardship to his family.
And what's going on with a lot of the order of removals that we have, usually they have the order of removals, and under the Obama administration, they were going to order supervision. It's
Correct.
almost similar to a probation. So you're reporting every year, hey, I haven't been arrested, I'm still working on my case, I'm trying to get it reopened. And now a lot
that's what to stay every year.
Yeah, right. And now under Trump, they don't get it anymore.
They don't get it. And also, a lot of the officers want to see that you're still making an effort in trying to get the case reopened and that you have a way of getting the green card. And if you show that and demonstrate that, there's a higher likelihood that they will allow you to remain in the U.S. until you're able to accomplish that.
Right. His biggest problem right now is that what they're saying is nobody is going to join on this motion on a discretionary basis, so therefore we're going to put the pressure on. If we can find a constitutional basis to reopen this case, that's a different story. Hopefully that Lozada motion could possibly be it. We would obviously have to look into it in greater detail. Let me ask you a question though, because we gotta run soon. I got a question. Rose, I heard recently that 18 members of your group were recently arrested during a nonviolent protest for Lucio. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Sure. There's really been an incredible community coming together, a coalition of unions, faith groups, community groups, students, and local activists, really trying to raise up the story of Lucio. And recognizing that Lucio's story is one of 11 million immigrants that are facing these same situations. And so we were engaged in the escalation of tactics to support Lucio. We were phone calling ICE. We had a petition of almost 2,000 people that signed on. And then, ultimately 2 days before Lucio's expected deportation, we did what's called a Jericho walk, which was emblematic of the biblical walk of Joshua to tumble the walls of Jericho, and we circled the local federal building in Springfield where the ICE office was located, with over 26 clergy leaders and 200 local activists. And we'd been preparing for weeks and training 18 people ranging from 20 to 75 years old, who this was their first time putting their bodies on the line to support Lucio's case. Others, they've done this many times. And we, ended this beautiful action with 18 people blocking the ICE doors and calling on the Board of Immigration Appeals to grant Lucio's stay and to reopen his case.
Your reaction is very commendable and fabulous, and the reaction from the community, 2,000 people signing a petition for Lucio, maybe many have never even met them, is really commendable and outstanding. Has any of these people who have been in support of Lucio, did they give affidavits in support of his motion to reopen his deportation case?
Yes, we've collected a wide range of letters for him, the local hospital where, he has the doctor, his boss, religious leaders, our organization. People have really rallied around Lucio's case and are wanting to get a win soon for him and his family.
Well, some of the things that I always talk about when I make my arguments is that immigration law is all about family reunification. So I really want to know, how has this impacted his children? This is really the story that people want to hear. How have your children been impacted by all of this? Your U.S. citizen children.
Correct.
It's something just terrible.
Estaba mi niña muy triste. siempre cuando ella habla conmigo me pregunta, papito, ¿no estás bien? ¿Estás triste? Y siendo una niña.
My daughter, she's only 8, and when we talk on the phone, she says, Daddy, you're not okay. You sound sad, Daddy. And she's only 8.
Mi esposa dice siempre se levanta por las noches preguntando dónde está papi.
She wakes up in the middle of the night asking, where's Papi, where's Papi?
Es muy triste lo que nos...
And even before sanctuary, antes de sanctuario.
Sí, antes y ahora también.
Before this and then now too.
I mean, unfortunately, some of these children have never been to the country. They don't speak the language.
They don't know anything about Guatemala.
And then afterwards, next thing you know, you have a 15-year-old, I believe, that's impacted, that has lived in the United States and now is going to be missing their father. These are things that basically have to be placed not only just in the motion, but also explained to the deportation officers. We actually have people see therapists, so they basically submit psychosocial evaluations. These are really important factors in order to make a really great and strong motion.
And then I think the one missing piece is that we have to have a legal basis to reopen the case.
Absolutely.
And again, without beating a dead horse, the legal basis is ineffective assistance of counsel, a violation of his fundamental constitutional rights. I think that's the missing piece that has to be done immediately. And then hopefully, with all of that, we can then go back to ICE. We can go back to the BIA and ask for a stay based on his constitutional rights and the violations of them, rather than just on, here's Lucio and his very sad story. We will be saying, here's Lucio and his very sad story, and by the way, his constitutional rights were violated.
Yes. Did you say something about the first 180 days?
Yeah, you have to make the motion to reopen based on Lazada and ineffective assistance of counsel within 180 days, or of the deportation order, which is obviously well past it. We're 5, 6, 7 years past it. Or within 180 days of reasonably discovering that I had ineffective assistance of counsel.
Okay.
All right, so we're going to try to help you off the air. You're obviously a very deserving person, all right? And we'll talk about it off the air. By the way, the man in the street is brought to you by the company that helps the man in the street.
Here's what I want to do.
Their credit report.
Here's what I want to do.
What?
Seeing that, USA Credit Repair got squeezed to the end of the show. It wasn't done deliberately.
Yes,
not at all. I'm going to keep USA Credit Repair under 60 seconds.
Fine, go ahead.
So let me just do it the way you
want to do it. You do it. Go
60
ahead.
seconds.
Go ahead.
All right? Because I don't know if there's a conspiracy.
No conspiracy.
No conspiracy. None. All right, so here's what. If your credit score is under 700, I'm doing the segment. I'm doing page 23. Okay? If your credit score is under 700, how about if we give you a 100% free consultation? And how about if we give you 30 days of credit repair, absolutely free, no obligations? All you've got to do right now, if you're listening to 93.5 WVIP or you're watching us, is call the number at the bottom of your screen or call this number 1-800-872-7177. Easy to remember, 1-800-USA-7177. That's 1-800-872-7177. That's 1-800-872-7177. Late payments, collection, charge-offs, bankruptcies, tax liens, judgments. Let's dispute the respective items to increase your credit score above 700. If it's under 700, you got bad credit, in my opinion. With that said, USA Credit Repair is the key to beautiful credit, a proud sponsor of the Man in the Street, right here on the Brad and Squeeze Show. It's more like lawyers on the street, if you ask me.
Well, it was Man in the Street Questions.
Man in the Street Questions,
But definitely they're very cool guys. I've called them. Call them now, 1-800-USA-7177. They are proud sponsors. They were the proud sponsors.
That's cool. 6 seconds over. Okay, welcome again to the Brad and Squeeze Show. My name is David Squeeze Anarchy, and I'm here with two good attorneys from the law offices of Spar Bernstein. Of course, obviously, Brad Bernstein, and we've got Paul Hirsch, and today we're here to speak about the 100-mile border law. And we're going to be expounding a little bit more on that.
By the way, Squeeze, do you know 200 million people live within 100 miles of the border? That's land and sea.
That's like 2/3
going
of the United
around
States.
the entire United States. And if you are found within 100 miles of the border and you entered the United States without inspection, and you are now found within, and you can't prove you have been here for at least 2 years, It is automatic, expedited removal. You don't have a right to see a judge. You have very limited constitutional rights, and short of filing something called the Convention Against Torture, that your life is in danger if you're going to return home, you're going to get deported, and your family may not even hear from you until you're in another country.
That's interesting.
I have Paul Hirsch here because he's a criminal defense attorney. He's well aware of Fourth Amendment rights. This is a Fourth Amendment issue, Squiz.
But can we break this down? Because a lot of people are hearing the legal jargons and within the border. So you're simply saying if someone crosses the border without being inspected by the government, if let's say someone that they call an illegal resident or someone who doesn't have a green card, someone who is not a citizen, you're saying they cross the border and they get caught within 100 miles of the border, they could automatically just be kicked back out of the country.
Well, a U.S. citizen has the protections of the Fourth Amendment. And anywhere in the United States, the police need probable cause to stop you, search you, ask you questions if they believe that there's a crime about or you were involved in some illegal activity. Here, within a 100-mile border, and what we're talking about here is that the federal government, the federal authorities, have a right to stop you and ask you for your papers to see whether you're a U.S. citizen. The protections of the Fourth Amendment have gone out the window. There basically is no Fourth Amendment protections when it comes to federal authorities within 100 miles.
As long as they are treating everybody equally.
Correct. That's
the key thing.
Correct.
They don't have a right to stop you beyond 100 miles of the border, but if they're treating everybody equally, they're stopping white people, black people, yellow people, green people, purple people, and people of all religions equally at a border stop or at a border checkpoint or at a checkpoint anywhere on a highway, then really you don't have a lot of Fourth Amendment rights.
Right.
But if they're individually picking people out based on the color of their skin or what they look like, that's when the Fourth Amendment comes in. That's when it's an illegal search and seizure.
Right. And sometimes they'll even have a plan where they'll stop every 7th person, every 10th person. That has to be decided before it begins. There's usually a set plan in action. They'll set up a checkpoint, and they'll say every 3rd, every 5th, every 10th car is stopped and questioned.
And then you would have
and then that's okay.
that they actually did what they said they were going to do.
Exactly. You could be here for a year and go visit a state or a city that's near the border, be approached by federal authorities, and be thrown out of the country.
So it's not just about crossing the border. It can be someone who's actually already living here for years.
As long as they don't have any sort of entry stamp. If you have an entry stamp, you came here on a visa, it's a different story. Let me just tell you the history of all of this so we know how we got to where we are today.
Right.
There is no constitution. The Constitution only exists for people who live in the United States. So at the border, when you come into the airport at the border, you don't have a right to see a lawyer. You don't have a right to see a lawyer when you're at the border in Canada or in Mexico because you haven't made a legal entry into the United States. And the law has evolved over time to, some people would run across the border. And while the Border Patrol was in hot pursuit of people running across the border, the law said, you know what, they didn't make an entry. They're trying to evade detection. Come fast forward to the Obama era. Obama said, it's not only now no longer hot pursuit, but if you're caught within 100 miles of the border, within 14 days of you being in the United States, and you can't prove you've been here for more than 14 days, you are considered as if you're trying to evade detection and somebody's in hot pursuit of you. Fast forward to Donald Trump, that orange guy in the White House. He changed that rule from 14 days to 2 years. Wow. That the government basically he's saying is that they've been in hot pursuit of you for the last 2 years. Okay, so if you're caught within 100 miles of the border, and we're gonna put up, what that border looks like. But if you're caught within 100 miles of the border within 2 years of your entry, without a visa, it's expedited removal. Look at what we're looking at here. That is the entire ring of the United States. It includes cities like San Diego, El Paso. It includes entire states like Connecticut, Delaware, Florida, Hawaii, Maine, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, New Jersey, New York, Rhode Island, Vermont. They lie almost entirely within this area. 9 of the largest U.S. metropolitan cities, New York City, Los Angeles, Chicago, Houston, Philadelphia, Phoenix, San Antonio, San Diego, and San Jose also lie within all of these areas. Now, there are 170 checkpoints by Border Patrol throughout these areas. And you have more limited rights within these areas than without these areas. Let's talk about those limited rights, Paul.
Okay.
So if you're caught within 100 miles of a border, the U.S. Border Patrol is allowed to stop people, okay? What kind of defenses would you have if they set up a checkpoint and they're stopping everybody? There's not really much of a, because they're not really making any distinction between any one individual.
And by the way, folks, if you're just joining us, Paul Hirsch is a criminal defense attorney at the law offices of Brad Bernstein. Yes, Paul.
But now let's say they don't stop at checkpoint, because we get these calls all the time on the Brad and Squeeze show. ICE is on the subway. ICE is ICE is on Jamaica Avenue. ICE is in Los Angeles. ICE is walking the streets. Do they have a right to just stop you, even though you're with? I mean, they have to have some reasonable suspicion, I would presume, right? And maybe you want to explain and I think that before they stop you, because how would they know if they would have to know something that either you're here legally or that you've been here for less than 2 years.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it comes down to probably what you look like. And that's why it becomes very discriminatory. If the color of your skin makes a federal authority believe that, they want to check your papers, then that's what they're going to use. And clearly that's not enough on a state level or constitutional level.
So let me ask you a question. Let's say you're in New York City. Okay, you are somebody who's out of status or somebody who's concerned about Immigration and Border Patrol. I mean, obviously, you come to a checkpoint. You're in trouble. You can't be like the Three Stooges and go run. So
you can try.
I mean, you can try, but you're not going to get too far. Okay, but just if you're walking down the street, what kind of things should people be thinking about?
Well, you should be thinking about, making sure you have identification on you. You should be thinking about making sure you have an attorney that, you're comfortable with and someone can reach out on your behalf. Whether they give you that opportunity or not, that's a different story.
Do you have a right to remain silent?
You certainly, yes.
You do have a right to remain silent.
You have a right to remain silent.
Do you have to provide them with your passwords to email or other social media for them to check whether or not you have something on social media that would indicate you are out of status because you're remaining silent?
No, you don't have to give them your passwords. You don't have to give them that stuff. They'll take your electronic devices. They may try to get in it. They may try to convince you that, let me just take a look and I'll let you go kind of idea. But no, you do not have to give them.
And they always have the right to lie too, right?
Yes, they not forget about the federal authorities, the regular state authorities as well. They're allowed to lie, cheat, make up falsehoods to get you to say or do something that they want you to do.
Right. A lot of this is going to come down to discrimination.
Right.
Why would somebody pick, for example, Squeeze over me? Okay.
I'm black.
We're both U.S. citizens.
Yes. I'm black.
Okay. But if Squeeze and I are walking down the street, who's Border Patrol going to stop first?
I'm going to pick myself. I'm black.
Correct. Or maybe if you were Hispanic.
Yes.
Okay. And if that is the only reason, is the color of your skin or what you were wearing that makes you look like a foreigner, okay?
You're going to look like a Muslim.
That's discrimination.
Yeah.
Okay? And they have laws against discrimination even in these situations. Okay? And so there's a big difference between being stopped at a checkpoint when everybody is stopped and they are asking Brad Bernstein for ID, they're asking David Squeeze Anarchy for ID, they're asking Paul Hirsch for ID, versus just literally walking down the street and say, hey, you look like you got dark skin, show me identification. And even if Squeeze were to show identification, and let's assume he's an illegal alien, which I know for a fact he's not because
I'll tell you this,
citizen.
If I'm walking down the street and they attempt to stop me and ask me, I simply say, no, and I keep walking.
That's what I would do as well.
I'm a U.S. citizen.
But they have something called habeas corpus, Squeeze.
And expound it.
Okay, habeas corpus, and it's Latin for bring the prisoner forward. So as an attorney, if because you don't have rights. Okay, you don't have.
Who doesn't have rights?
You don't have rights within 100 miles.
If you're not a U.S. citizen or a resident.
Correct, and you're caught within 2 years. But you also have rights against unlawful stops, unlawful searches, even within this 100 miles of a border. And if the only thing that the Border Patrol can point to is your dark skin or your clothes, and that's what caused you to stop this person, that to me would be an illegal stop, and I think that would be unconstitutional.
Yes, and I think that was the big case out in Arizona when they had the sheriff, Arapo, who was found guilty of illegal discriminatory practices, and President Trump just pardoned him. So,
well, that was pretty
sad there.
Yeah, let's keep something in here that's very important. The phone number, ladies and gentlemen, for the law offices of Spar and Bernstein happens to be 1-800-529-5465. We're going to throw it up right there on your screen shortly. The number is 1-800-529-5465. If you'd like a whole lot more on what Brad and Paul Hirsch is speaking about, you can simply call that number 1-800-529-5465. Very important number. That is the number for the law office of Spar Bernstein here inside of New York City at 225 Broadway. Thank you.
Go ahead, Paul. And I would think that's probably one of the smartest things you can do now. If you're here illegally, you're working on maybe your papers, and have an attorney that you've already consulted with. Have their number. Have your family know that you've consulted with that attorney. Have them have that number for you, so that should they get wind that you've been picked up by the authorities, at least someone can reach out to your attorney, and maybe there can be something done to help protect you.
You know, Paul, discrimination is something that we keep fighting with here at Spar and Bernstein, that lots of attorneys, lots of people are fighting. You should always have a good attorney saved in your phone. Probably the best way to protect yourself and the best way to protect your family is have a good attorney saved in your phone, especially if you're living within 100 miles of a border, especially if you don't have a visa entry, because you're not going to be able to prove you were here for 2 years, 4 years, 10 years, unless you have work records or school records or hospital records. They're going to throw you out of the country.
Absolutely.
Unless you have a good attorney who's going to do something to protect your rights.
Right, and whatever rights you have, or however limited they are, you alone are not going to be able to do anything about it. You're going to need an attorney.
Absolutely. And that's the reason why it's extremely important for you to dial a number. You know, I'd like to see you dial it, let it ring for about 10-15 seconds. This way we know you're truly saving the number. The number is 1-800-529-5465. That's 1-800-529-5465. That's the number for the law offices of Spar and Bernstein, and we all need to have that number stored in our phone. And as Paul Hirsch noted earlier,
for your own safety.
Give it to your family. Give it to your family members.
Do it for your own safety.
Give it to your friends, and give it to your foes. All right?
All right, thank you, Squeeze.
Thank you, Brad.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you, gentlemen.
All right, and we'll go.
Thank you, the Brad and Squeeze show fans.
This is Kim Moore from the Brad and Squeeze Show, and we are back out on the streets asking New Yorkers questions about family law. Let's see how they did. Are you allowed to move out of state with your child if you're in a custody battle?
I don't think so.
I don't think you are. It wouldn't seem ethical to do so.
I would say no, because you're in the middle of a case. Like I would say any type of case that you have with anyone involved, like you can leave the state.
Even if you have sole custody of your child, you cannot move out of state without the permission of the other parents or the court. In that case, you have to file what's called a relocation petition. The burden on that petition is very high. You'd be wise to seek the attorneys at Spar and Bernstein to help you with representation.
At what age does child support stop in New York City?
I'm pretty sure child support would stop at around 18 or 19.
18?
I know in Texas it's 18. But here, I'm guessing the same age, 17, 18.
I don't know.
Well, you can see most people think child support stops at the age of 18. It actually is continued until the child's 21 years old.
In New York State, it also does not self-terminate. If you want to stop paying child support when your child turns 21, you have to go to the court and ask them to stop your child support case.
If you have one child, what percentage of your income will you be expected to pay in child support?
If you have one child, I think you should be expected to pay at least 20%, maybe 30%.
See, I don't think there should be a specific percentage. I mean, I guess that's not like, I know that's not like lawful or anything, but like whatever my child needs, I should provide for them. If they're my child, they're my child.
Probably, if you have one child, it's probably like 50, maybe 50%.
I believe the percentage you're supposed to pay for child support out of your income, I don't think it's that much, honestly. I feel like it's kind of low, but I said like 10%, 15%, not high at all.
Maybe 10%?
I would say maybe 15%. This is just all guesses because I'm not familiar with law.
Many of you may be surprised to hear that you have to pay 17% of your gross income for child support. It's not 30%, it's not 50%, it's 17% of your gross income. If you're wondering why you have to pay 17% of your income for child support, it's because kids are expensive.
Does custody automatically go to the mother?
No.
No, custody does not automatically go to the mother.
It does not automatically go to the mom, and it shouldn't automatically go to the mom. It should go to the parent who is most fit to raise the child and which circumstances are best fit for the child.
No. I think it depends on like so many things about their income, their situation, current situation, how the way they're living.
Historically, mothers were given deference when it came to child custody. That's no longer the case. Obviously, times are changing, families are changing, and the structure of the court's changing.
The courts nowadays look at the best interest of the children. Both parents can be granted custody of their children, so either parent should be going to court and fighting for their kids if they want custody.
In terms of family law, do you know what maintenance is?
Oh. I don't know.
I am not aware of what maintenance is.
I do not know what maintenance is.
Care to take a wild guess?
No.
I do not know what maintenance is.
Maybe making sure that everything is upkept, like your salary is still updated, like all of your information is still there.
Maintenance is spousal support. It used to be called alimony.
It's spousal support that you may be court-ordered to pay to your soon-to-be ex-husband or ex-wife.
Can a spouse use incriminating photos or text messages as evidence against you in divorce proceedings?
Yes, to prove an affair. I mean, I guess you could, but in court, would they really think you're lying about being cheated on? Is that a thing?
That's hard because we're very influenced by media and they make us believe that's true, but I'm not sure about that. Maybe it's like in very specific conditions that you can do that against an ex-spouse. Yeah.
I don't even see how that doesn't seem appropriate in my opinion, but if that's what people do, I guess. But I wouldn't do that.
Photos, videos, posts on social media can be used against you in a divorce.
While the fact that your spouse cheated might be the most important thing to you, it is not the most important thing to the court. Unless your spouse used marital money to pay for that extramarital affair, the judge does not want to hear about it.
You may also be surprised to find out that if you are conducting an extramarital affair, assets from the marriage spent on that affair can be used against you as well. So be careful.
If you filed divorce papers with your ex months ago and have never heard back, what should you do?
Contact the person you're trying to divorce?
I guess what you would do if you hadn't heard anything back from your ex, I guess, would be to just do what you were doing before. Like, just continue doing whatever you were doing. I have no idea. Go to some type of higher up after trying to reach out to them. I guess some type of judge, local judge, attorney, somebody with some legal power.
Contact us.
If you filed for divorce months ago and you still haven't heard anything, the clerks are giving you the runaround, you need to come to Spar and Bernstein and speak to an attorney in the matrimonial department. We can help.
Prior successful results do not guarantee similar outcome.
Thanks for watching. We'll be back tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. with brand new live Halloween spooktacular show. See you then.
The proceeding was informational only and not specific legal advice. Consult an attorney about your individual situation. Prior results do not guarantee a similar outcome in the future. To make an appointment with the Spar and Bernstein law firm located at 225 Broadway in New York City, call 1-800-529-5465. That's 1-800-529-5465. Easily remembered, 1-800-LAWLINK. That's 1-800-LAWLINK. Once again, make a call to 1-800-529-5465. And of course, link up with the law offices of Spar and Bernstein located at 225 Broadway on the 5th floor. If I were you out there,
make the call, make the link, make the connection, make it Spar and Bernstein. 1-800-LAWLINK. That's 1-800-529-5465.